Welcome. We are now on day 2 of Chakra 101, and we are going to dive into all things sacral chakra. Based off of last week's feedback, I've made some tweaks to the presentation, and you visual learners will love this. So last week we did a quick overview. So today I'm going to do a visual quick overview for you. And we dove into last week our root chakra, our base. I hope over this past week, you guys have been practicing ways to balance and support your root chakra, that feeling of belonging, that feeling of safety. If you have any questions around any of the chakras as we go through them, reach out. That's what I'm here for. That's what I love to do, is offer any guidance or tips that I can. So today, with that, we'll dive right into our sacral chakra, which is our second chakra coming up the chakra ladder. So I am going to actually share my screen. And those of you in the learning circle, you know that sometimes I have some trouble with my screen sharing, and we'll see how this works. Fingers crossed, everybody. It appears that it's working. So we're good to go. We're good to go on that. And this is a visual of our chakras. Based off of that, these are the ladders that we have. And now we did talk briefly about the 12 chakras, and that would be that we have some outside of our hands, outside of our feet, and we have a few up here. But for our Chakra 101, we're going to stay and focus on the 7 chakras, the 7 main chakras that are housed in our physical body. Last week we did the root. This week we'll be doing the sacral. Next week, solar plexus, then our heart chakra, then our throat chakra, third eye, and our crown. And that is how they are viewed visually in the body. And remember that the word chakra is Sanskrit for wheel. So these are all spinning energy centers from the base of our spine, our tailbone, straight up to the crown of our head towards the back, as we talked about last week. Here's a quick overview of the 7 chakras. And I've put them in order, obviously, 1 through 7, starting with our root. And now here's a visual of all the symbols. Thought this was helpful to include because last week I talked about the root chakra symbol and how it had 4 petals. And it just seems obvious today, but didn't seem obvious last week, that it would be great to have a visual of all the symbols, because we can actually learn a lot about them and through the symbols that have been created, right? So we have our 4 petals here. And then in this overview, if you want, go ahead and screenshot this so that you have all of this information at your fingertips. I can even put this in a PDF for the whole Chakra 101. I'll put together something for you guys. But this, now we have the listing of all the petals. So you see our third eye has 2. And as we get to each chakra, I'll explain to you what all of them mean, right? Why does the heart have 12? Why does the crown have 1,000, right? And why does the third eye only have 2? So now we have this next line here is the mantras that are sparked from each chakra. And as we talked about last week, you can develop mantras for your root chakra with I am. I am being a very secure statement, right? Very identifying. And that's what our base is. It's our identity, it's our safety. So a lot of mantras for this chakra start with I am. And then we have today's I feel, and so on and so forth. And I will always remind people when we talk about affirmations and mantras that your brain needs to buy into it, or else you're just saying stuff, If your brain and your heart and your mind do not agree with what you're saying, it's silly. It's like me saying I have black hair. It just does not even make sense, right? So that's where we incorporate saying things like, it is possible. It is possible for me to feel safe and secure, instead of saying I am safe and secure. If I don't believe that, it's not doing anything to support my chakra or any part of myself, right? Or I believe I could become safe and secure, right? Or there's a possibility I am willing to feel safe and secure. So we kind of tier them in ways to get to a point where we can say affirmatively, right? In our affirmations and in our mantra, we can say, I am safe and secure. And that is ultimate goal, right? And so that's what working together we do, is get you to that point based off of working up to it. Not very many people seek a coach or a therapist or somebody to talk to if they're 100% I am, right? So then we have this final line of this slide tells us the element that correlates to each chakra. So we did the earth, root, and that made a lot of sense when we went over it, that it's sturdy, it's our foundation, right? Today we'll discover a lot about the sacral chakra and how it's related to water and why. Why was that element correlated to it? So go ahead, like I said, screenshot this, or at some point we'll put this in a PDF for everybody once we complete it, or maybe as we go through. We'll wait and see. Some things are to be determined, you know. All right, so for today's lesson on our sacral, we're about 2 inches below your belly button. That's the location. And as you can clearly see, this is orange. We know this because everything is orange, as well as it's the second, and orange is the second color in our rainbow. We talked last week about how it all correlates back to that rainbow, that reflection, right? So orange is this color of activity and aliveness, right? And we'll get to why water was chosen, because water, this alive movement of water too. So orange, this activity. It's also, if you can think about the traffic lights, it can be pause, caution, let's see, let's evaluate, right? Interestingly enough, in Hinduism and Hindu traditions, the color orange also is this color of purity or purified energy. And you'll often find that monks usually wear this color, and that it all the colors and the symbols that we talk about, what they mean, they were all not chosen because this is such an old tradition, but they all work together in this way, even down to the planet that was chosen for each chakra. All right, so now we know that it is about 2 inches below our belly button, and the physical organs that are connected with this chakra are our reproductive organs, our kidneys, our lower abdomen. Oftentimes physical manifestations of solar plexus being out of balance would be kidney infections or urinary tract infections, lower intestinal problems, right? And that mind-body connection, we can really begin to heal. And it's interesting, what the Sanskrit name of that correlates to our sacral chakra, it actually can be roughly translated to one's own dwelling. And that gives us a clue as to what happens in this space, right? It is this very feminine space. And I'll stop here with number 2. And that just is that it is the second chakra. That's what that will mean and next week will be 3. That's how it, I put that there for the color orange and the number of when they say the chakra ladder, we're at number 2. So if we take a look at this symbol right here of the sacral chakra, you can see that this is a circle and then another larger circle. But what it actually is the moon and the sun. It's the crescent moon with the sun. And that helps us to remember that this sacral chakra is all about flow and cycle, the ebb and flow of the sun and the moon, and how that creates a day, right? And then how 30 of them create a month, and then how 12 of those create a year. It's all about the cycle and flow of creation, right? That is our seat of creation with our sacral. It's all about our physical body, our feminine body, our creative body, right? When we look at this symbol, it has the 6 petals right here. And these 6 petals were placed there because it said that those are the qualities or emotions that we need to work through in order to maintain a balanced sacral area, right? When we are flooded with anger or hatred, jealousy, cruelty, pride, desire, it's more along the lines of like a gluttonous desire, right? Then we're off balance. How can we counteract that? And knowing that we're human and that we will have a hatred sometimes, we will have anger, but how can we spend less time in that exaggerated flow state, right? So with that, the element, this, I'm going to backtrack here. Okay. When we go back to having this be the sun and the moon in our cycles, this chakra is where our basic emotions are housed. Okay. It's where, that's why we work on these basic emotions that when we spend too much time in, we often have an unhealthy, unhappy life, right? So this basic emotion of anger, hatred, jealousy, yet when we spend that time there, that vibration penetrates, like we talked about last week, our whole energetic body. And so we need to look at how to balance that, how to maintain an element of joy, of bringing in a sense of pleasure and well-being, right? So this chakra houses those basic emotions, those desires. It also houses our sexual energy and our sexual expression, who we are sexually, right? And the sacral houses most of our subconscious because our emotions are housed in our subconscious mind. So this is where we do a lot of work subconsciously, is in this sacral chakra, right? Working on this influences our personal relationships, our sense of pleasure, our sense of well-being, right? And so that's where these 6 petals come in. And the number 6 is also considered very feminine. We talked about the cycle and the flow being very feminine. The number 6 itself is connected to cycles. And so it's hidden inside of, like we talked about, 60 minutes, right? It's hidden inside of 12 months of the year. It's hidden, the number 6 is hidden inside of the 360 degrees of a circle. So it's such an amazing, that's why I'm spending so much time in this chakra for myself, is like I was talking about last week, spent so much time wanting to connect with my intuition and spending a lot of time in the upper 3 and not realizing that I needed to have this solid foundation with my root chakra, and then now graduating and moving and really spending a lot of time in my sacral chakra to spend time in this purified energy state, right? To learn how to have this sense of well-being, right? And accepting more feminine things about myself, right? So it is an amazing experience. I love it. And I hope for you guys to experience it as well. And a few ways that we can do this is with the mantra work that we talked about. And so we mentioned last week and then again at the beginning of this week, mantras and affirmations need to be digestible and acceptable to our brain. And that's where this subconscious work comes in. We can say whatever we want, right? We can claim we identify as something until it becomes a subconscious habit. It just is mere words. So when we're playing with mantras for this chakra, we can say, I feel my emotions. I'm willing to feel my emotions, right? I am willing to welcome joy. I am a creative being. I am accepting myself as a creative being. We can add words to make it more palatable for us, to make our body, mind, and soul jump on board. And the element for this chakra, for our sacral chakra, is water. And again, water is very, very feminine. Water constantly is moving, right? Constantly in a flow state, right? Even ice, it's either freezing more or melting some, right? It's always in a flow, it's always alive. And water can be, it's when we think of all of these elements, right? Water can be really dangerous, right? It can be really forceful, or it can be um, uh, gentle, right? Imagine just letting a water travel you down a stream, right? Or watching a leaf go down a stream, or water is used to cut glass and stone at such a pressure, right? So now we're going to get into all the fun stuff that we talk about with our chakras and how we can aid in balancing them and how we can aid in working with them, right? And of course, first off the bat, orange, right? Orange. Let's wear some orange. I'm going to share a little tidbit because I'm working on my sacral chakra. I keep all my post-it notes are orange now because it's an anchor for my brain. I'm constantly reminding myself that I want to reaffirm the things that I've set for myself, for my mantras. It reminds me, have you done your chakra work today, right? I have these little notes everywhere. And so if you're working on your heart, get some green ones, right? Or maybe you have a pen that you use and now you're using an orange marker for jotting down your notes. Make it fun so you make it doable. You want to do it, right? So if we're working on our sacral, we can then enjoy some fruits and vegetables that are of this shade of orange, right? Mango, papaya, citrus fruits, pumpkin, as you see here, sweet potato, orange pepper. And now we have Jupiter as our planet. And last week, I don't know a lot about astrology or the planets, but I do know a few fun things, right? Jupiter is very feminine, right? Very, it's got that movement to it. So it's so fun to connect them. You can even, if you want to do chakra work and keep it fluid, you could look at the astrological and moon cycles and see what phase the moon is in. Is it in Jupiter? What planet is it in? Is it in Jupiter? Is it in Saturn? What chakra does that correlate to? And then you can do some work for that chakra where the moon is that month, right? So it's always fun to know these things. Feel free to again screenshot this. Crystals. It's another great anchor that I love to use. I personally have been using Tiger Eye as I do my sacral work, but any orange stones. So there's carnelian and calcite And those two actually come in a bunch of different colors. Moonstone has a few shades as well. You'll see here there's a peach moonstone, and that is sort of with this orangey color that we're going to go with for our crystals. And now our yoga stretches and poses. I definitely am going to preface this by saying I am no yoga instructor. I think I talked about that last week. And this is not medical advice. None of this is. It's all ways that you can use to support yourself. So we have triangle pose, which is this little one here. Last week I teased that you guys didn't want to see me doing any yoga poses. So I got these little peeps here. We've got a triangle pose. So you can just spend a few moments in that pose. And then we have, this is a butterfly pose, right? Then we have our crescent moon. And we talked about how the crescent moon was inside of our symbol for this chakra. So this is a great way to honor that. And you're with both of these, you're actually opening up this space, right? You're opening up that sacral space. And now let's get into some concrete things you guys can do. Well, I guess yoga poses are concrete and crystals, but meaning tangibles. Let's talk about some journal prompts you guys can do that might help you on your journey for your sacral healing, balancing, grounding, right? These are just some questions. You can screenshot this again, or I'll put these in the show notes down below. And with journaling, I love to say, make it your own. You don't need to answer this in a question, like answer this question in like a written paragraph form, right? What do I value in my relationship? I value safety and security and fun and love, right? No, you can do bullet points. You can draw a picture, a really fun creative, because our solar plexus is all about creating, right? A really fun way to do this is to get newspapers or magazines, books, and like look through for pictures or words that help express what you value in your relationship. Cut them out, make a vision board around it, right? So there's so many ways that we can tackle these prompts. They don't have to just be pen and paper, right? What emotion do you primarily feel? And then primarily feel. And if you answer an emotion that you don't really want to, well, what do you want to feel, right? So I won't go through all of these. As you can see, they're here. I'll put them down below as well. Spend some time, and this will be a great beginner's step for working on your sacral chakra. That plus all the tidbits of different fruits and color and planet, all of that, your crystals, you'll be on your way in no time. So we are going to, oops, did I lose you guys? I think I stopped there. I stopped sharing and now I'm back. Okay. So we are going to end our sacral learning for today. And I hope that you guys spend the next week just dabbling with this and noticing a shift. What did it feel like working on your root chakra versus working on your sacral chakra? And if you have any questions, reach out, drop them below, send me an email, and we will get them answered. And this is not a journey. Life is not a journey you do alone. So I'm 100% here for you. Reach out and we will get all your answers. Until next week, have some fun with that sacral chakra.